Hello all and welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. The college football season has begun. Yesterday, week 0 took place with a moderate slate of games. One notable matchup, Nebraska and Northwestern. No top 25 teams competing yesterday. Now that week 0 is done, that means that week 1 is right around the corner. We've got games on Thursday. We've got games on Friday. We've got games on Saturday. We've got games on Sunday. And yes, we've got games on Monday, September 5th, Labor Day. And if week 1's right around the corner, that means it's time for the picks. Last season in my picks, if I check my handy-dandy statistics here, I finished 206-56 overall on the year. That's a 79% winning percentage. I was 25-10 in my picks involving top 25 teams, and I was 8-1 in picks involving top 10 teams. Let's see if this season I can improve upon that overall record a little bit, shall we? As it is week 1, most of the top 25 teams are playing cupcakes that they are easily going to beat. There is, however, a top 25 matchup on the docket, and there is a top 10 matchup on the week 1 docket. Big-time games being played early in the season. Most of these picks should be relatively easy and don't require a lot of analysis, which is good because since it is week 1, almost all of these teams haven't played yet. A few of them played in week 0, and then they're playing against a big-time team this week. But the top 25 teams have not played yet. So there is no eye test that I can rely on. There are no statistics that I can rely on. So a lot of this is just going to be gut feeling based on who they're playing and based on off-season moves, dealing with player transfers, coaching changes, recruitment stats, that kind of thing. As always, I am just picking winners and losers of these games. I am not dealing with point spreads. I know what a point spread is, but I don't understand the language behind point spreads, getting points, giving points, laying points, all that stuff, and I can't be bothered to learn it. Why? Because the most important thing is who wins the game. So that's what I'm going to be picking here. The winners of the games, regardless of what the point spread or the odds are. Let's go ahead and get started, and we're going to open up the week 1 picks with the top team in the nation, the Alabama Crimson Tide. They are home against the Utah State Aggies. We're going to go with Alabama. For our top 10 matchup of the week, we've got the number 2 team in the nation, the Ohio State Buckeyes, hosting the number 5 team in the nation, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This one I think is relatively easy. I'm going to go with Ohio State on this one. Why? Because Notre Dame does not have Brian Kelly as their head coach any longer. He's gone to LSU. They've got a brand new head coach. Their quarterback from the last couple of years, Ian Book, he's gone. They're breaking in a brand new quarterback. They're on the road against the number 2 team in the nation, which has the same coach they've had in Ryan Day, who is a very good coach. They've got C.J. Stroud coming back as their quarterback, coming off an excellent first year. Even though they lost 2 of their 3 wide receivers, a wide receiver core that were terrors to defenses last year, hello Michigan State Spartans. They still have Jackson Smith-Njigba, who some people argue is a potential Heisman Trophy candidate this year. It's at Ohio State, which is one of the toughest environments to play. I just don't see Notre Dame with a brand new head coach, breaking in a brand new quarterback, going on the road to one of the toughest places to play with a team that's returning a decent amount of starters this year and having success. So let's go with the Buckeyes for the first of the top 10 matchups for the 2022-2023 college football season. Number 3, the Georgia Bulldogs in the top 25 matchup are taking on the number 11 Oregon Ducks at home. Oregon is now coached by Georgia's former defensive coordinator, Dan Lanning, who helped Georgia win a national championship with an absolutely nasty defense last year. However, a lot has changed in the land of the Ducks. Their quarterback from last year is gone. He's playing for the Baltimore Ravens now. Their 2-headed running back tandem, they're both gone. They're breaking in a new quarterback, transfer Bo Nix from Auburn. They've got, obviously, a new head coach who's on the scene, who is a more defensive-minded coach, which is weird and will be unusual for an Oregon team that since the Chip Kelly era earlier this century has been offensively minded. So what's that going to look like for the Ducks? Once again, they're traveling across the country. They're not playing this game at home. I'm not 100% sure if this game is a neutral site game that's being played like in Atlanta or some crap like that. But regardless, it's at Georgia is what it's going to be. So I don't really see a brand new head coach in Dan Lanning going against what is still one of the top teams in the nation, the Georgia Bulldogs, despite the fact that Georgia's lost 15 players to the draft, 14 of whom were starters. They've been recruiting so well that they almost certainly have 4- and 5-star recruits who are going to substitute in for a number of those lost players. And even though they're going to have new starters on the field, I don't really see Oregon proving to be much of a challenge, so I'm going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs on this, spoiling their former defensive coordinator's debut as a head coach. Number 4, the Clemson Tigers. They are taking on Georgia Tech on the road on Labor Day. I'm going to go with Clemson on this one. I don't know much about Georgia Tech, but they haven't been very good the last couple of seasons. Clemson, as I said in my analysis video of the top 25 teams, is a bit overrated, but I still think they're good enough to get themselves a win against Georgia Tech. Number 5, Notre Dame. They're going to lose to Ohio State, as I mentioned a few moments ago. Number 6, Texas A&M. The Aggies are home against Sam Houston State. Let's go with Texas A&M. Number 7, the Utah Utes. They are starting the season on the road against the Florida Gators. Florida had a very disappointing season last year that cost former head coach Dan Mullen his job. They've got a new head coach in Billy Napier, who's brought over, I think, one, if not both of his coordinators from his former school. Utah going on the road, going across the country to play this game can be tough. But I think Kyle Whittingham's team is going to be well prepared. They're going to be a tough-minded team that wants to run the ball, that wants to play solid defense. I don't see in head coach Billy Napier's first game at Florida him making a massive cultural change that's going to lead to a victory over a top 10 team. So let's go with Utah in this matchup. Number 8, the Michigan Wolverines. They're starting their campaign at home against Colorado State. Go with Michigan on this one. Number 9, the Oklahoma Sooners with new head coach Brent Venables. They are starting their 2022 campaign at home versus UTEP, the University of Texas El Paso. We're going to go with Oklahoma on this one. The number 10 team in the nation, the Baylor Bears. They are starting out at home versus Albany. We're going to go with Baylor. Number 11, the Oregon Ducks. As I've already commented, they are going to go and lose to the Georgia Bulldogs in their new head coach's first outing. Number 12, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. They are starting their season on Thursday at home against Central Michigan, a Central Michigan team that got Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State a couple of years ago. I don't see that happening this year. Go with Oklahoma State. Number 13, the North Carolina State Wolfpack. They are starting their campaign at East Carolina. Go with North Carolina State. Number 14, the USC Trojans are starting their campaign versus Rice at home. Go with USC. Number 16, my Michigan State Spartans. They are starting out their season home against Western Michigan. Go green, go white in that matchup. Number 16, the U, the University of Miami. They are starting at home against Bethune-Cookman. Go with the U. Number 17, the Pitt Panthers. They are home in Week 1, taking on the West Virginia Mountaineers in a game that used to be a traditional rivalry called the Backyard Brawl between the two teams. Both West Virginia and Pittsburgh are starting new quarterbacks who both happened to play for USC in the past before they both got injuries. Weird coincidence here. West Virginia now has JT Daniels leading the offense. Daniels had once been the starter for the Trojans, had suffered a lower body injury, lost his starting job, then transferred to Georgia, where people thought he was going to play, but Stetson Bennett IV, the kid with the most old money name in college football, played well enough, and in some cases very well, in fact, to keep the starting job and lead Georgia to a national championship last year. JT Daniels has now transferred again, and now he's leading the charge at West Virginia. Pitt, meanwhile, lost their starter Kenny Pickett. He's in the draft now, playing for the Pittsburgh, or he's in the NFL now, playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've got Keden Slovis, who was the quarterback who took over USC from JT Daniels when Daniels was injured, and who himself suffered an ACL injury, which cost him his starting job at USC. Interesting how the wheels of fate turn for college football players who have been injured at times, isn't it? Pitt is also breaking in a new offensive coordinator. Their guy, Mark Whipple, he left for a new team. So now we get to see what happens with two new quarterbacks, both of whom have had somewhat catastrophic knee injuries that have cost them each at least a season of their college football careers. Finally getting on the field again, finally being able to start for brand new teams. West Virginia is a tough out. They took Oklahoma to the limit last year at Oklahoma. Pitt, even though the game's at home, they're breaking in a new offensive coordinator with a new quarterback, learning a new system, new relationships all around. I don't necessarily see Pitt having an easy time on this one. I think Pat Narduzzi has a good team, but they also lost their Biletnikoff-winning wide receiver Jordan Addison. He transferred to USC, conveniently enough, bringing this story even more full circle than we had already brought it. I'm going to go with the upset on this one. I'm going to go with the West Virginia Mountaineers to spoil the party right off the bat for the Pittsburgh Panthers. Number 18, the Wisconsin Badgers. They're home versus Illinois State. Go with the Badgers on this one. Number 19, Arkansas is taking on number 23, Cincinnati. In, I believe I said earlier, there was one top 25 matchup. I beg your pardon, there were two top 25 matchups. This is the second one. Arkansas is at home against Cincinnati. Cincinnati lost their quarterback, Desmond Ridder. He's playing in the NFL now. Cincinnati lost two of their best defenders in two of their DBs, who are both in the NFL now. I don't see Cincinnati having another Cinderella season like they had last year when they won their conference, made the college football playoff before losing to Alabama. They had either an undefeated or one-loss season even before that. I don't see that same thing happening now. I think Cincinnati's lost simply too much experience, too many good players to be able to keep up that pace and that record for another season. They're going on the road against an SEC team that played well last season, that ran through Texas at home early in the season, and kept up the record to finish, I think, 8 or 9-4 with a bowl win last year. I'm going to go with the Razorbacks for this one in the second of our duo of top 25 matchups, spoiling Cincinnati's season right away in week 1. Number 20, the Kentucky Wildcats are home versus Miami of Ohio. Go with the Wildcats on this one. Number 21, Ole Miss. They are home versus Troy. Despite the fact that Ole Miss is breaking in a new offensive coordinator and a new quarterback, Matt Corral's gone. Their offensive coordinator, Jeff Lebby, is gone. He is, I believe, at Oklahoma now. I'm going to go with Ole Miss on this one. Number 22, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, coming off a very good season last year. They start their campaign home against the Virginia Military Institute, I think is what it's called. Go with Wake Forest. Number 23, Cincinnati, as I've already said, they are going to lose to Arkansas. Number 24, the Houston Cougars. They are at UTSA, the University of Texas San Antonio, who themselves had a 2-loss campaign last season. They only lost once during the regular season, and I think they lost their bowl game at the end of the year as well. But they had pretty much a Cinderella season. I don't know much about UTSA. Houston, though, is coming off an excellent season where they finished with, I think, 2 losses on the year. They lost in the AAC championship game to the aforementioned Cincinnati Bearcats. I think Houston is motivated. I think they know Cincinnati's vulnerable this year. I think they're going to want to start off the season on the right foot. So I'm going to go with the Houston Cougars in this one. And lastly, we've got number 25, the BYU brand of the Cougars. They're starting at South Florida. Again, going from the mountains all the way over to the plains of Florida where it's going to be hot, it's going to be humid, can be difficult. South Florida hasn't been good for a few seasons, though. BYU had a good season last year. I'm going to go with BYU to open up the season on the road with a win. And that does it for the picks for this season. Let's hope for a good, strong start to the beginning of the year for me and my picks. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you like what you saw and heard in this video, please do me a favor, like this video, leave me a comment below. What games are you looking forward to watching the most in week 1? What picks have I made that you disagree with, and why are you disagreeing with those picks? And why are you obviously going to be wrong in your disagreement with me on those picks? Share this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notifications bell so that way you will be notified when new videos drop on my channel, which they will be doing with regularity from now on because we have week after week of college football action for the next few months, and that means week after week of picks for the next few months. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all next time.